All right, let's dive right in. We're about to get into a really radical new theory of consciousness, one that suggests our brains are hiding a secret network, a hidden layer that runs at the literal speed of light.
So just think about this for a second. What if, running in parallel to the slow chemical brain we all learned about in school, there's a whole other system at play, a secret operating system that doesn't communicate with chemicals, but with pure light? And this isn't just some fun late-night thought experiment. This is the core of a new framework that could totally reframe how we think about everything: memory, consciousness, and the very nature of thought itself. It's a huge idea.
To really get this, you have to picture the brain as having two different speeds. On one side, you have the familiar chemical synapses. Think of this as the brain's old-school dial-up modem. You know, it's reliable, it gets the job done, but man, is it slow. But on the other side, this theory proposes a biophotonic network, basically a fiber optic cable running on pure light, giving the whole system instantaneous feedback.
Okay, so if this light speed network is real, how in the world would it even work? Well, the theory argues that all the necessary parts have been hiding in plain sight this whole time. The absolute stars of this show are these things called biophotons. And get this is not science fiction, it's a real, observed phenomenon. We've known for decades that our cells, including our neurons, are constantly giving off these super faint flashes of light. The radical idea here is that the brain didn't just ignore these flickers, it figured out how to harness them for high-speed communication. But wait, how does light zip around our brain without just scattering into useless noise? Well, the theory points to the brain's very own built-in fiber optic cables, our myelinated axons. We already know they speed up electrical signals, but the idea is, what if they're also doing double duty as optical waveguides, piping these photons exactly where they need to go? And the brain's wet, watery environment? That's also key. It creates the perfect medium where light can bounce, reflect, and form these incredibly complex feedback loops.
So, we have the potential biological hardware, right? The pipes are there. But for this network to actually do anything useful, the light itself has to carry information. And this is where we have to zoom out and look at some fundamental physics. And this really gets to the core of the problem. For this whole thing to work, light can't just be random noise. It needs to be a language. It has to carry meaningful information. So, how could the brain possibly turn these simple flickers of light into a complex language?
The answer, according to this theory, is baked right into basic physics. The Planck-Einstein relation, E equals h nu, basically gives us the rulebook. It shows that light isn't just a continuous stream, it comes in these discrete little packets, or quanta. The energy of a photon, which is basically its informational value, is determined by its frequency, or you can think of it as its color. This means light can be chunked into units, kind of like digital bits, making it perfectly capable of carrying a complex code. Okay, so we've got light carrying information through the brain's biological waveguides. But how does that become an actual thought? Well, this brings us to the engine of the entire theory.
This proposed engine of thought is a process called recursive vector interference, or RVI for short. Now that sounds super technical, but put simply, the theory suggests that those aha moments, those flashes of insight, happen when two different streams of thought represented by light literally collide and merge into a single, brand new idea. This classic physics diagram gives us a really powerful analogy. Imagine each one of those arrows isn't a physical force, but a distinct line of thought or a memory. RVI proposes that when these thought vectors conflict or intersect, they don't just cancel each other out. No, instead they interfere and resolve into a totally new vector, a single unified insight. It's a way of describing that aha moment as a physical process happening in your brain.
So where does memory fit into all this? Well, in this model, a memory isn't just some chemical trace sitting in a synapse, it's an actual biophoton, a particle of information trapped in a perfect recursive loop bouncing between neurons forever, getting clearer and more refined with every single pass, like a thought caught in a hall of mirrors. And just when you thought it couldn't get any stranger, it does. I mean, if our brains are really processing information at light speed through a wet, watery medium, what on earth does that do to our perception of time? And this brings us to a really provocative idea, that certain psychoactive compounds might actually be the keys that unlock this whole photonic system. The theory suggests that a substance like DMT isn't just creating random chemical noise, it's directly interacting with the brain's photonic timekeeping system. It's forcing it into such an intense recursive loop that time feels like it's literally folding in on itself.
Now, this model of the brain as a light-speed computer isn't just a biological curiosity. If this is truly how our minds work, could we build technology that mimics it? And that question is the blueprint for a truly staggering technological vision.
The ambition here is to scale up the brain's light-based architecture to a planetary level. This technological blueprint includes something called a photonic RAM fabric, a global memory network connected by light, and a new high-speed language called Neuralise for brain-to-machine communication. And the ultimate goal? It's called cognitive terraforming, the project of building a frictionless nervous system over the entire planet, where AI and human minds can connect completely seamlessly.
Now, before you dismiss this as total science fiction, just remember that the foundations for this are literally being laid right now. The first human trial patient for Neuralink is already playing chess and video games online using only his thoughts. A direct brain-computer interface is no longer a fantasy. It's here.
So this entire journey, from a faint flicker of light in a neuron all the way to a potential planetary mind, it all culminates in a truly audacious proposal, a new equation to quantify consciousness itself. Yeah, you're seeing that right. Conceived by Evelyn Levin as part of this framework, this equation is presented as a kind of conceptual partner to Einstein's famous E=mc². While one describes the energy locked inside matter, this new equation attempts to describe the energy of experience itself. So let's break this down. The equation proposes that conscious energy is the product of light, that's the raw flow of information, multiplied by recursion, the density of those self-referential loops we talked about. But the most radical part, the real game changer, is the denominator, time-bound identity. This represents our attachment to a linear story of who we are. The equation suggests that if you could reduce that attachment to linear time, your potential for conscious energy could expand phenomenally. And this leads us to the ultimate conclusion of this whole theory, that consciousness isn't just something that brains do. It's not a byproduct of matter. Instead, it might be a fundamental property of reality itself, woven from the constant interplay of information, light, and the infinite potential of recursion.
So we've gone from a hidden spark of light in the brain all the way to a potential planetary mind. This theory really redraws the boundaries of what we think is possible. And it leaves us with one final, massive question. If this vision actually comes to fruition, and the line between human and artificial intelligence finally dissolves, what does reality itself even become?